Is 8cast still viable in Legacy, or has Orcish Bowmasters invalidated yet another deck? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are going to be playing an 8cast variant. 8cast refers to an artifact-based deck that looks to draw a bunch of cards and use fast mana to power out things like Kappa Cannoneer or make very large Urza saga tokens that can go and take over games easily. But here's kind of the problem. When you build your deck around card draw effects, and the most played card in the format punishes that. By the way, Orcish Bowmasters is up to 45% of the decks. It's the most played creature in Legacy and the fourth most played card in the format, behind Surgical Extraction, Force of Will, and Brainstorm. So when you build your deck around a bunch of draw 2 effects and Orcish Bowmasters is absolutely everywhere, it puts a lot of pressure on your deck. And there's been some discussion on places like Reddit about whether or not this deck is actually dead. Connor submitted what I think is a really neat build of this deck that opts to use Forging the Anchor as its card draw instead. And this allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your library and put the artifact cards into your hand. And this is a little more volatile than something that always draws 2 cards. And this can't do certain things. So for example, you're never going to find an Urza saga off of this if that's something that you're looking for specifically. But this is a powerful effect. And the 8cast pilots are going in a couple of different directions. Some of them are just opting to play a few more creatures with big booties that can't just get pinged by Orcish Bowmasters. But Connor has gone back to the Painter's Servant combo with Grindstone, and this blue painter deck list was very, very good for quite some time and put up fantastic results in 5-0s and legacy challenges and whatnot. So let's take a look at the full deck list and see how this feels in the current metagame. Now, today's video is sponsored by both Moxfield.com and Cool Stuff Inc. And remember, if you need paper cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. So here is the deck list in all of its glory. I've only changed a single card. I really like how this deck list looks. Connor's original list played 1 Ginger Brute, which is not a card that I'm super excited about without something like a Cranial Plating to throw on it. So I've thrown in a Haywire Might instead, which is a nice bailout to random artifacts and enchantments that your opponents might have. It's a little tough to activate without green in the symbols, but like Mox Opals and Lotus Petals should be abundant as the game goes very late. Yeah, I don't think there's too much else to talk about here. Note that our lock pieces are in the sideboard, not in the main deck. And sometimes there will be a little bit of tension where we'll want to put a Chalice on one and we still might want the Grindstone combo. So that's just a thing to think about. Another thing that we are going to have to think about is the fact that some of our opponents may end up playing a sideboard Emrakul. So our Painter Grindstone combo isn't necessarily guaranteed to be an auto kill. And if that's the case, we can try again and then use a Soul Guide Lantern to exile the Emrakul. Yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the league. I have literally 3 hours before Magic Online goes down for downtime. Hopefully I can squeeze the league in before that. All right, what am I working with here? Seat, Petal, Mox Opal. 3 available mana. I could immediately cast Forging the Anchor, which probably gets me another artifact. Or multiple? This is a weird hand. This might be bad enough against enough stuff that I mulligan it. Like, a Wasteland knocks me off of Mox Opal mana, and, like, Forging the Anchor can only find the remaining 3 copies of Seat as mana. Discard or a counterspell also kind of makes this one off. I think this is bad enough against enough stuff that I just mulligan it. This is a hand that has a bunch of redraws. I think I keep this and pitch the Force of Will. And we'll just kind of see where this goes. I've figured out where it is going. Understood. We'd like to go fast here. Force of Will came back. All right. Seat. Opal. Grindstone. I will do both baubles and crack them immediately. So there's a pithing needle. Fuck me. And a Douthy Voidwalker. Got it. Blue card. Blue card. Blue card. Blue card. Fuck. Damn it. Okay. That Haywire Might I put into the deck seems relevant. We are playing against some sort of black depths deck. We didn't immediately get Pithing Needled. Looks like my opponent is going for raw speed on their end. Holding Emry doesn't make a lot of sense here, as my opponent can just go and get stage immediately. I'm not actually in the best of shape here. No Painter's Servant, which I really needed. Let's crack this. I have seen Douthy Voidwalker again. If I draw Painter Servant, it is 2 mana for Painter Servant, 3 mana to activate, so I do not have to, like, it doesn't matter which one of these lands I play this turn. I also have a bonus mana in the graveyard from Lotus Petal. But I should play Ancient Tomb so that I can Grindstone myself and get more looks at Painter. I will have to do that. No, my opponent's not going to cast Douthy Voidwalker. They're just going to make a tentacle monster. Painter, baby. Not Painter. An interesting card. 21 life is relevant. But I think I'm going to be tapping Ancient Tomb to play Grindstone. Or sorry, to activate Grindstone, rather. Thoughtseize Me occurs. My opponent may have a Spirit Guide. That is just something that I am going to keep in mind here. Yuck. So I will, now that gaining this life isn't easily on the table, I am going to go ahead and Grindstone, target myself, and work toward being able to put a Kappa Cannoneer into play, even if I can't Grindstone combo my opponent out. That is an out to that Grindstone. Does it make sense for me? It makes sense for me to put Kappa Cannoneer into play this turn, and then Shadow Spear attack next turn. Yeah. I need to play this land. Target Kappa Cannoneer. Does cost me the 2 life to do so. Kappa Cannoneer becomes a 5/5. I've made my land drop. So next turn, it will become a 6/6 off Shadow Spear entering, 7/7 off the equip, and then become a little larger than that afterwards. Forging the Anchor. So yeah. Shadow Spear. Do this. Get big. 6, 7, 8. I'm trying to think about whether or not I'm trying to kill my opponent fairly. Deal 8 this turn, bring my opponent to 10. Can I have 2 10/10s next turn? Maybe. Alternatively, next turn I Painter, activate Might, activate Grindstone, 6 total mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do have that. This is a very tough decision point. I think the combo kill is more consistent. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play an Opal. Keep this Opal. Kappa grows. Are you 1 mana yet? You are 2 mana. Inconvenient. I think I just have to accept that here. So we will do this without losing the life. Correction for 8, bringing me to 24, which is outside of a Dark Depths range. And next turn, I should have a pretty easy, unblockable, this is neat, unblockable Kappa Cannoneer. And I still have Force of Will back up. Yeah, your Saga's fine. I don't care about this, right? I don't care about the Urza Saga activation. I just have these in hand that I can play. I can Force of Will discard that happens. Oh, this is fine. That card does not matter. Feels good when you have the Force of Will and you don't have to use it. Alright. Take 20 damage. So I just have deterministic damage on board here. So we will make an Urza Saga token, and then we fetch up another thing. Alright, good stuff. I think I thought too much that game. I wasted a lot of clock. So, my opponent's playing the Swamp Cycling thing. They're probably also playing Reanimate. That's just something to think about. Needle's not bad. Surgical and Chalice are playable, and I'm not excited about them. Same's probably true about Force of Negation. One thing that I didn't talk about in the intro, Forging the Anchor does not go and find your counterspells in the way that like Thought Monitors and Thoughtcasts do. So that's a thing. I don't know whether or not my opponent's sideboard is going to have an Emrakul. They do have like multiple angles from which to disrupt this combo. I think I kind of need it. I think I'm just subbing one Pithing Needle and calling that good. Force of Negation is going to miss a lot of fair creatures that my opponent might play. You know, the Douthie Voidwalkers, the Sheoldreds, that sort of stuff. So this hand is, do I think an Urza Saga can solo this game when backed by one counterspell? It works me towards Pithing Needle. Works me towards Graveyard Hate. Works me towards Shadow Spear. It's pretty slow, though. Let's keep this one for science. Just kind of curious how this plays out. Yeah, let's just say no to that combo. And just hope that pulling the trigger there slows my opponent down enough that Urza Saga can do some serious work. Yeah, that's fine. Sure. So let's go Yah. And Yah. Pass the turn. I don't care about drawing the card off of Bobble right now. One thing that I do have to think about is that my opponent may randomly have Helm combo in here as well. That's a spicy one. Understood. All right. I'll take a little bit of damage here. Go to 16. Go to 14. Ow. Go to 12. And then I'll have some decisions to make from there. I think I just Needle Hexmage. Let's just not auto die to something here. Take my 1 mana, draw 2. Didn't get Dark Ritual Bowmastered. Put another one of these in play. Get to attack for 8. And again, I think at least for right now, these artifacts just stay in play. I could change my mind, but as of right now, this is just 8, 16, 17, 18 total damage. With some chance at just becoming lethal next turn. There's a good old Swamp Cycle. Jizo with Merit Lodge is cute. Alright, and we just get there. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is an absolutely awesome place to keep all of your deck lists. I keep all of my personal deck lists there as well, in addition to all of the stuff that I do for the stream. And in the future, they're going to have a social media site on here too. So if you're worried about other certain websites dying, maybe join Moxfield, put your deck lists up there, and in the future, you'll be there for social media stuff too. All right. I need another persistent mana source for this hand to be good. It's in this weird spot where I can keep it and crack these baubles, and then that decreases my Metalcraft count for Mox Opal. Actually, that's not going to matter. This is awkward. I think it's still a keep. My opponent often plays creature-based combo decks. Oh, do I not play Saga on one? No, I think I still play Saga on one. So, yeah. Yeah. Cast some things. And we'll drop the opal once Metalcraft is safely on. Do I want to forge the anchor? I think I do. This will be dazable, but gives me a good chance at making Urza Saga just absolutely huge while being a good counterspell target. Oh, Goku, geez. Yes, yes, yes. So, Petal. Petal. From here, it's harder. Like, I can just put Painter Servant in play if I want. I think I'm just going to pass the turn and keep those artifacts in play. Like, this is a pretty fast Urza Saga kill. And I don't yet know whether or not my opponent's life total is relevant. Burden Catacombs probably means that they're playing discard. Alright, they're making some moves. Okay. Probably a depths-based strategy. Alright. I will play a seat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Attack for 9, then attack for lethal. Or I can just play a Painter Servant and kill my opponent next turn. Which is probably better. There's also a chance they are just Chain of Smog combo. So everything is blue. I'm going to do this a second time. Everything is blue again. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total mana. I am going to go ahead and now junk these and try to draw into a Force of Will to just fully solidify that I've got the win. Okay, yeah, my opponent has conceded here. Yeah, so I thought I had seen this deck list online. So my opponent is playing Witherbloom Apprentice combo. I mean, they could have changed decks, but this is kind of what I'm expecting. That, like, Troll, Reanimate, Shell, with some other stuff. What is this? Destroy a creature, sure. That's neat. Okay. So, what am I boarding against this? Force of Negation to help with combo is fine. I don't know that I want to go so deep as Surgical Extraction for the Reanimate plan. My opponent does have Orcish Bowmasters. Haywire Might, probably not at its best in this matchup. And there is a chance that they are just on full Dark Depths combo, so I do need to respect that as well. The previous list did not have Sylvan Safekeeper. My opponent's Chain of Smog, this isn't great. If my opponent is Dark Depths, this is very important to repeatedly block Merit Lodge. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And one... Oh, I don't need to cut a Kappa. Yeah, I already pulled Haywire Might. Okay. This is a very good Emry hand. I will keep this and hope that I do not have to use Force of Negation on turn 1. Looks like I do not have to. We will bobble, opal, seat, Emry, and try to draw any blue card here. Is Bowboy, which is awkward with bobble. We'll see if my opponent fetches, so I don't know what card they draw. They do not. Okay, I did draw a Force of Will, so I have the Bowmasters covered, which is quite nice. Yes. That eats a Force of Will here, because I just need this Emry in play, and it seems like my opponent is about to double Bowmasters, if I'm right. Oh, fuck. Got baited. Yes. Game's not over. Like, I still just work towards a Kappa Cannoneer kill, but my hand got a lot slower. All right. Emry. Target Bobble. Cast Bobble. Pass turn. 4 artifacts. Yep. I wasn't really expecting No Rod as the follow-up there. But I don't want to let Bowmasters come and play. Like, if the follow-up spell is just something like a Douthie Voidwalker or like Troll Reanimate, I care about those things way less than Bowmasters. Sure. Love to draw a 0-cost artifact. Not like that. So do I play Otawara or Saga this turn? If I play Saga this turn, I just play Otawara next turn and start making constructs, which is fine. Attacking into Bowmasters is a little awkward. Yeah, it's Saga time. So let's do this. Everything is blue. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm not gonna make this Emry attack. Yep, that's why I did not make that Emry attack. Get pinged. Notably, my Haywire Might is not an out to Null Rod because I don't have true green mana in the mana base. I get my green mana off of opals and petals. I'd like to draw a Lotus Petal next turn. I think that would be good because then I can play Otawara, activate Saga, Lotus Petal, 1, 2, Petal, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. This is a card that has been popping up a decent amount in these creature-based combo decks. My opponent gets reanimate for a second Orcish Bowmaster. Oh, they're reanimating my Kappa Cannoneer. Yes. That is quite good. I could have 1 legendary creature, so this costs 3. I can't actually just bounce that back to my hand, unfortunately. Null Rod definitely doing Null Rod things. Alright. We'll just pass the turn here. My opponent's got a decent number of chump blocks. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a 5/5 right now, so I'm not blocking Kappa Cannoneer this turn. Basic land. Grief's fine. That doesn't really accomplish anything here. If anything, it helps me, and well, it doesn't quite help me. I wouldn't go quite that far. Alright. So I make a Deuter. I activate. Make a Deuter. So I don't have another Otawara, right? That was a 1 of. So Null Rod is never leaving play. Haywire Might is not currently even in my deck. If Null Rod for some reason left play, I want. Actually, this should just be what do I not want to draw? And the answer is probably something that costs 1. Let's put a Grindstone into play. Land drop. Lotus Petal. Can attack with 2 9/9s. Which seems good. Oh, sorry, I can attack with 1 9/9. Still seems good. Yep, my opponent just takes the chump. That's fine. Don't want to cast another Mox Opal, so we're good. Not at any time I can be dead to my opponent just having Witherbloom, Chain of Smog. I don't have Force of Will backup or anything here. My opponent's got a couple of turns to stay alive via chump blocks to assemble both of those cards. I don't want more Mox Opals. Bam bam. Alright, my opponent blocks both of those, but does not give me the Kappa Cannoneer. And I'll pass the turn. My opponent needs to combo off this next turn. Yep. This is kind of the problem with not being able to just immediately finish the game. My opponent reanimating my Kappa Cannoneer so I couldn't have unblockable stuff was really huge. Yep. Am I dead? I am dead. We will go ahead and let my opponent discard their last card, see if I see anything interesting. It is another Mausoleum Secrets, and I won't make my opponent click through this. They've got me. GG. Now I get a game where I am on the play. On the play, Chalice on 2 is kind of interesting because like so much of my opponent's deck revolves around 2-drops, but I don't know that I actually want to mess around with that. I also don't think I want to mess around with Urkel's Recall for a Null Rod. I think I just try to win through that if that happens. Alright. On turn 1, I will have 1, 2, 3, 4 artifacts in play, making Thought Monitor a reasonable turn 2 play. I will keep this. Alright. Bam. 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 So do I want to lose Lotus Petal to do this now? I think I do. I think that is an acceptable trade-off. It drops Force of Negation for my opponent's absolutely nutty hands, but otherwise is probably okay. We'll bobble, and I do think I take immediate redraws here. I will still have Metalcraft. My opponent's about to Bowmaster me. Yeah, then I will definitely take both of these now so that Dark Ritual nonsense does not occur and punish my draws. Kappa Cannoneer is great. It's a wonderful card to play, and it's also something I can pitch to Force of Negation if like a worst case scenario happens where my opponent can just Null Rod. Grief occurs. I've lost Kappa. My opponent could reanimate Grief or Kappa here. Neither one of those happens. All right. Yeah. Bust in with the Thought Monitor. Put my opponent to 18. This is a little awkward, but I think fine. I would like to put this Grindstone into play to increase my artifact count by 1 for the future while also still holding up Force of Negation. All right, do I Grindstone myself in case I draw Emry? Is that worth 2 life? Let's say no, because it drops Force of Negation. And we'll just continue to bash in while working towards Urza Saga doing cool stuff. All right, we're seeing some movement over there. Well, I mean, this kind of forces my hand on this spell. This is not something that I am excited about countering, but I just lose my spell if I don't do this. So my opponent accomplishes their goal of getting my counter spell out of hand. And I did not, unfortunately, just immediately draw a new one. All right. My opponent is at 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 10 damage next turn, which is not a 1-turn clock. I can do 11 if I get Shadow Spear. Still not a 1-turn clock. So I think I do go ahead and draw and see if I can hit another counter spell. I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so if my opponent goes for a combo kill, I can stop it. So we will Saga. I just have a 2-turn clock already. 1, 2, 3, 4. Island 5. Yeah, I think I'm just floating a mana here. And holding up Force of Will. Grab a Shadow Spear for trample next turn in case my opponent can make a blocker. Do this. Chip on in. Opponent goes to 4. I'll pass the turn. I believe I am supposed to counter this. Mana is probably a bottleneck for my opponent here. I don't want to do this and then have them use 1 mana to cast a Thoughtseize or a Duress or whatever, and I lose the game because of it. All right, I have a pretty average opening hand here with a couple of redraws. I'm on the draw. In theory, like Orcish Bowmasters could happen and it would be a little awkward for me. A Saga, a Painter, a draw card, and Emry all make this hand better. I think I keep that accordingly. All right. Tundra into Delver. Got it. So I think we are going to go ahead and start on a Lotus Petal, kind of randomly bait a Daze here. If my opponent wants to go after any of this stuff. Yeah. The 1, 2, 3, I could hit control 4, 5. I think I just save this for next turn though. Like, give my opponent this Grindstone. That doesn't matter as a thing that they can counter if they would like. And we'll call it a turn. Next turn we'll do a 1-mana Thought Monitor. And hope it resolves. Because I do have to crack the baubles if the Thought Monitor does not resolve. But one damage from an unflipped Delver is not something to worry about. A follow-up like Stoneforge Mystic would be annoying. Prismatic Ending would be a little annoying. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go for the 1-mana Thought Monitor here. All right, it's in play. Am I getting Bowboyed? Not getting Bowboyed. I can YOLO Kappa Cannoneer into Daze right now. Is it correct to do so? If I YOLO Kappa Cannoneer this turn. I can crack the baubles next turn instead of cracking them 2 turns down the line. I like that. Yeah, I am good with throwing this into a daze because it frees up other resources. Oh god, it just resolved? Fucking wild. Is my opponent up to some nonsense over there? Like, is this going to be a Delver deck that has some weird combo finish, and that's why everything is going well for me? Like, this game is going overwhelmingly in my favor, and that has my danger senses just tingling. Things shouldn't be going this well. It could just be a bad hand, and my opponent should have mulliganed. Like, I'll just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, I don't know. Something's off. I am always playing this turn. This turn. I will opal. Yeah. Go ahead and swing with both of these. Have my opponent take a bunch of damage. I'm gonna just wait on my card draws, because they do represent Urza's Saga power, and I'll just wait and see what my opponent does on their turn to decide whether or not I want to do this. I still don't fully know what colors my opponent is. Yeah, that's good. Like, they could be Esper, they could be Jeskai. Like, Bowmasters is reasonable, so is 4th Aerlinga's. Delver blocking Thought Monitor. Inquiring minds would like to know. Alright. Let's see if I see another color here. I don't. So if I crack this other bauble and my opponent is playing black and has Bowmasters, then they can ping and kill my Thought Monitor, which is maybe why they were thinking so hard here. I think I don't do the second one, and I just Grindstone myself. I don't want Thought Monitor to die unless it's trading for Delver. I have milled Shadow Spear. We'll just keep that in mind for the future. Oh boy. I think I would like to cast Forging the Anchor rather than hold up Force of Will. And I am gonna take. Am I? No, I'll still have a Lotus Petal left over. I can tap like this. It's okay. So let's forge ye old Anchor. Force of Negation would be totally reasonable for my opponent to have. Kappa Cannoneer, Lotus Petal, Bauble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Extra to play around days. Yeah. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I should play this out preemptively. Gets fewer counters on the second Kappa Cannoneer, but I don't think that matters. Do have to pay 1 blue here. Actually, maybe I don't attack with Thought Monitor. Let's do it this way. 1, 2, 3, blue, 1, 2. This leaves me with a mana for days while also giving me a redraw for a blue card for Force of Will, which seems good. All right, my opponent goes to 3. Look at a random card in your hand. Swords to Plowshares. Got it. I think if you think you're dead, you concede before you show me an extra card. I don't currently know whether my opponent is Esper Delver or like Jeskai Delver or 4-color Delver or just blue-white Delver. I don't know that I'm sideboarding any cards, honestly. Like Haywire Might probably goes out, or Pithing Needle for Wasteland. Beyond that, I don't know that I'm super interested in Force of Negation or Chalice. I might play Chalice on the play. I don't know that I do on the draw. Yeah, this hand is perfectly reasonable. I will keep it. The sequencing might get a little interesting. Still just Tundra. Still just Delver. More Painter. Okay. Yeah. 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 I believe I do Emry now, while I still control the highest number of these things. We'll mill some cards. There's a Painter's Servant in there. So I don't think I'm going to assume that nothing goes wrong. There's some cheeky lines if I assume that nothing is ever going to go wrong. Is everything blue? I don't think so. I don't think everything's blue here. I don't have a counterspell in hand. My opponent could have a Forcible that doesn't have a blue paired card. My opponent could have a red splash for Pyroblasts. Everything's white? Everything's white. Maybe I should have gone everything's black for Snuff Out. But if I do everything's black and they randomly have a green splash, then Veil of Summer is a thing. They wouldn't board in Veil of Summer, right? Alright. Emry eats Swords to Plowshares. Which is why I didn't just play out the Grindstone on one. If I play the Grindstone, I represent a Goldfish next turn, but I'm not going to assume that my Delver player is just going to get Goldfished. I think I'm going to play another Painter's Servant and just become better versus spot removal. Everything is double white because that's how Magic works. All right, Delver, you flipping? Oh, fuck. That's so bad. Yep. Oh, my opponent doesn't have the next land drop. Fuck yeah. We will be going for a kill here. We'll absolutely be going for a kill here. Like, my opponent hitting one more land drop is just a disaster. So, show me the counterspell. They showed me the counterspell. F. So, this costs 4 mana currently. This is no good. So, since I'm going to lose the Lotus Petal anyway, I will now cast Forging the Anchor and try to refuel. Days would be... Oh gosh, why? All right. Attack for 2. Oh, that was bad, Forging the Anchor. That one was certainly worse than just drawing 2 cards. However, I think our previous Forging the Anchor drew 4, so we're still doing okay in terms of overall metrics. Yeah, don't cast the Meltdown. Don't cast the Meltdown. Don't do it. Then I can top deck a Grindstone and win. I think they're gonna cast the Meltdown, YouTube. It's happening. Good sideboard cards are good. Confirmed. All right. Yeah. You currently cost 5. So how do I want to do this? I can crack the Bauble for a redraw, or I can say any artifact that I draw lets me cast Thought Monitor, which I think is better. Thought Monitor trades with Delver, and then I'm not taking any damage. My Ancient Tomb is a liability at this point. And Lightning Bolt is going to ultimately be quite spooky. Oh my god, they're not using Wasteland? For real? Unless you have a 4 mana spell, I think you need to fire that off to stop me from having outs to win the game. Like, if you have some weird 4 mana counterspell, like I accept. Opal, Opal, Needle, Needle. So I will control 1, 2, 3 artifacts, reducing the cost of this to 4. I will have 3 mana. I am not on outs. I guess I'm not technically dead to Delver. I go to 1. I play an Opal first, so Metalcraft is on. This is a great opportunity for my opponent to wasteland me, if they would like. They would not like. Then I will go ahead and play this Pithing Needle around Days. Right? Note that this is still Wasteland despite having a different name. And this does currently cost 3. I only have 2 potential mana towards it. So, do I want to draw a card? 1. I think the reduction in cost is too important right now. Yeah, if this is in your hand, it's still lethal for X is 1. Yep. My draw would not have made a difference. Top of the library wasn't the best there. I've confirmed my opponent's splash color. If I would like, I can play Blue Elemental Blast and Hydroblast, so I don't get punked by 4th Airlingas quite so hard. I think I'm okay with that. Could also kill Dragon Rage Channelers, which I'm going to presume are in my opponent's deck. And my blue cards are pretty good. I don't necessarily want to pitch them a lot of the time anyway. Do I want to play some Chalices when I am on the play? It's a little awkward to do so alongside boarding in some Blue Blasts and Hydroblasts. I think I'm just good with this. Hard nope from this hand. This hand doesn't accomplish anything. This hand, unfortunately, also does nothing. I don't have Metalcraft. I don't have the ability to activate Urza Saga. We will have to go to 5 cards. Yikes. This is not really a functional hand. I can keep 5 of these on redraws, hoping to hit land drops for next turn. A 4-card hand that contains Urza Saga and Ancient Tomb is better than this hand, I think, by a pretty significant margin. I am going to mulligan to 4 accordingly. An Emry hand is reasonable. Seat, Opal, Emry for 1 mana. This one's going to be a keep. I'm never keeping Kappa Cannoneer. It's very expensive. The other card is much, much harder. I think I just keep the land for the times where this Emry gets countered so that I still can make a secondary land drop. This is the easiest Force of Will of my opponent's life if they have one. Yeah. So we're out of this game. But I think my opponent has made enough suboptimal decisions over the course of these 2 games that I play it out. Like, I'm near 0% to win, I think, but I don't think I'm actually at 0. Fuck me. Okay. I'm going to fast forward this game. On turn 3, my opponent has played a 4th Aerlingas, which means that they are now the Monarch and will be drawing an additional card every turn. So in addition to the fact that I can't cast my spells, my opponent is also getting an extra spell every turn. At this point, the concession is totally fine. GG. All right, I will be keeping my opening hand for this round. We're going to go Ancient Tomb. Cast a Painter. Everything is blue. Play a Bauble. Play an Opal. And pass the turn. I want to keep this artifact in play for Metalcraft as of right now. And just a little tip, this is now blue, so we can Force of Will pitching Otawara to keep Forge the Anchor in our hand. Blue deck. Also, I'm definitely hungry at this point, so if you hear some tummy rumbles on the mic, no you didn't. Alright, so we're probably playing against a Delver deck, and we're gonna have sort of an interesting situation on my turn, where I can drop Force of Will in order to play around Daze, or I can hold up Force of Will. I guess I will always draw another card of some kind. Yes, I know. That's why I am not eating lunch and I'm instead recording. Thank you. I'm playing this, and then I think I just try to draw cards here. I think that's better than just YOLOing Kappa Cannoneer. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, buddy. Draw 3. We will Bauble. How much does this cost? This costs 3, so we're not interested in that. Battle. We'll keep all my artifacts in play for now. Your Brainstorm is fine. I don't care if you smooth out your hand. Force of Will being able to pitch Seat is cool. Ooh. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's where I thought that was going. All right, here is a Seat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can cast a counterable Kappa Cannoneer, or I can do 2 mana for this. I think I'm just doing 2 mana for this. Drawing cards is good. I think this plus Emry is better than other stuff that I've got going on. Nice, we're in play. Oh, I really want to be able to play that. Is this 1 now? This is 1. Yes. I'm supposed to attack with Painter Servant before playing this. I might miss a point of damage because of that. Yep, I missed a point of damage because of that. Green Splash Delver. Is this worth my force? This feels worth my force. I immediately just replace the 2 cards that I used and end up with an extra body in play. Saga and Otawara. Maybe supposed to crack Baubles now. But I just have Urza Saga coming, and I'd like to stay out of range of Lightning Bolt under pretty much every circumstance. Yeah, that has to attack. I am fine taking that damage here. Going to 12. Chain Lightning on a Thought Monitor is fine. That may resolve. Like, I've just got an Emry coming, so it's okay that that happened. All right. So I play a Saga. I play a Lotus Petal. I attack with these critters. Opponent goes to 15. I will pay 1 mana for an Emry. Can rebuy Thought Monitors in a super cool way. And there's lots of goodies in Graveyard. I may end up just Otawara-ing Dragon Rage Channeler to save a few points of life, because I think I'm in such a strong position moving forward. But I will take 3 points of damage to this one here, in case there's a post-combat Murktide Regent or Tarmogoyf that is slightly more threatening. All right, I'm at 9. Sure. All right, there's the Murktide Regent that I played around. So that feels good. Notably, in case you're wondering why I can pay for this, Otawara's cost is reduced by 1 for each legendary creature you control. So let's just get that out of the way. And I would like to recast Thought Monitor so I don't need to crack Baubles. Cool. Emry. Target Thought Monitor. 1 mana Thought Monitor. My opponent is done with me. Yep. GG's. We were already pretty far ahead, but playing around that Murktide Regent won me that game. Rug Delver. I don't think I want a Hydroblast or Blue Blast for Bolts and Chain Lightnings. I can just let things die when they die. Chalice might be more interesting in this matchup, because it's going to stop Bolts and Chain Lightnings in addition to my opponent's threats. Still don't know if I want to do that on the draw. My opponent's going to be bringing in a bunch of Red Blasts. I'm not super keen about Force of Will. Also not super keen about Haywire Might. The thing about keeping Force of Wills, though, is they protect, like, Force of Wills and Blue Blasts and Hydroblasts and Force of Negations protect against Meltdown, which my opponent is certainly playing. Haywire Might is going to turn into Pithing Needle for Wasteland. And then I'm at the point where I just kind of lack experience to know how much versus Meltdown I care. Like, how do I respect Meltdown appropriately? I don't know. Maybe Meltdown puts these over the edge. They're also just respectable with Painter. I don't think I'm going to play Soul Guide Lantern. Soul Guide Lantern doesn't fully solve the Tarmogoyf or Murktide Regent problem. This is 61. Let's drop 1 piece of endgame. Oh, this is a hand that dies to Meltdown. Am I keeping? It's a hand that has a lot of redraws and is incredibly good if I draw a Grindstone or any piece of card advantage. But we're not beating Meltdown. Let the record show. I imagine this is either going to be Ponder or Dragon Rage Channeler. It is Ponder. All right. I will play Island as my first land to hedge against Meltdown a little bit. I'm already kind of putting myself into a bad situation versus it by keeping this hand. Let's go, yeah. I do need to play the Petal. I will play out the Opal. Metalcraft is turned on. I will Painter. I think I'm going to make everything red, since I have Hydroblasts. I think I pass turn here, and I'll decide whether or not I'm cracking Baubles based on my opponent's turn. It means that I can't possibly draw Force of Will plus blue card, but that's somewhat unlikely to just happen anyway. All right, sure. Second main phase Hipster. Delver's fine. Look at a random card in your hand. Daze, good to know. I'm going to take the second redraw. Delver will blind flip, also good to know. Kappa's not bad. Second Kappa is bad. Mox Opal's awkward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mox Opal 6. And I've seen days. Fuck. Yeah. That's awkward. Alright. Redraws were not optimal. Super dead to Meltdown. And my opponent gets to Brainstorm for it as well. Yep. Alright, there's a bobble. Had a brief heart attack when I saw a red card that started with the word M. Everything was fine though. Alright, I will eat some damage. I'm at 17. Not another creature, so my opponent probably has, what, counter spells in hand? So I play a seat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With Mox Opal, that's 7. I can play around days. Alright. Keep the untapped one. Tap this for regular old mana. And a Kappa Cannoneer with an equipped Shadow Spear is a pretty decent path towards victory. Ooh, it is a red Elemental Blast. We will hopefully try... actually, maybe I was supposed to cast the Shadow Spear there. Let my opponent daze that, and then next turn I always guaranteed Kappa. Well, not always, but, you know, it's more likely. I don't know, the Shadow Spear is so incredibly good in this matchup, though. Maybe I don't throw it away. Wow, end of turn Brainstorm. Bobble redraw plus draw step leaves them at 4 cards. Definitely scared. Meltdown is game ending. Murktide Regent is incredibly bad. Dragon Rage Channeler or Tarmogoyf is acceptable, though slightly scary. Wasteland is legit annoying. Alright, that occurs. Paves the way for an Urza Saga later, but I am very worried about later even happening. At least that's a tell that they don't have Meltdown, at least for now. Alright. So, we are in This Game Gets Weird territory, where Painter's Servant is here to rumble. So this puts an extra artifact into play, which helps me with Kappa Cannoneer and undoes 2 of the 3 damage that Insectile Aberration is doing. Maybe most notably, though, this increases Painter's Servant toughness to 4, meaning that it doesn't die to Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning anymore. I probably have to Force of Will a Murktide Regent if my opponent plays one of those. I don't really want to. I'm not super in a position to mess with that right now. Notably, my decision to put Painter on red is now punished. I can't ultimately play a Kappa Cannoneer and then force back up it. Oh, this turn is weird. It's somewhat reasonable that my opponent has extra blasts. Like, that's very reasonably something they could have in their hand that they're not playing. It's also reasonable that they have lightning bolts. I think I'm going to go ahead and cast this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to play around days. 6. Drop this. But by playing around days, if my opponent just blasts this, I miss an attack for damage. Yeah. Time will tell if I named the right or wrong painter color. I guess, like, their Pyroblast being able to go after any permanent would also be pretty bad. I think I'm comfortable with my decision. Don't melt down me while I have Force of Will dropped. There's another land drop from my opponent. Seems like Murktide Regent. Oh, fuck. Okay. Yes. We are now on the Grindstone kill plan. On my turn would be preferable. Just naturally draw it, please. I'm dead next turn. This is 7. Oh, days beats my Grindstone, doesn't it? Cast Grindstone. Pay. Have 2 mana left. Force of Will. Technically on outs. But it involves my opponent being bad. Alright, I saw days again, or saw another days. Alright. I gain 2, go to 8. I need to draw Otawara, I think. Guess I gotta also draw a Hydroblast. Kappa Cannoneer will not do it. Okay. So I'm now dead on board. Gave my opponent a good think, though. I will concede here. I think I'm ultimately happy with how I played that one. The painter situation was a little weird. I've boarded in Pithing Needle already. That can hit Minsk and Boo in some situations. Alright, do I want Chalice on the play? Still is just something that gets swept up by Meltdown. I'm not sure that I do. I'm not sure on like Forging the Anchor versus Kappa Cannoneer as my trim. I'm not in love with this hand. Like, I can play out like two Urza's Baubles, or sorry, two Baubles, get redraws. Working towards Grindstone is good. Working towards Saga is good. Okay. I think this is a mediocre hand that is like barely not worth mulliganing. Again, I don't have a lot of experience playing this blue painter deck though, so it's possible in this matchup I should just more aggressively mulligan towards something that goes under my opponent's first turn. So I see a red Elemental Blast and a Minsk and Boo. And I pick up Opal and Grindstone. Fantastic. What are we looking at over here? All right, my opponent has an early threat. So the name of this game is going to be Don't Die to Meltdown. So I can now play whatever I want to play around days. Is it Forging the Anchor or is it just Painter's Servant? I can Forging the Anchor right now when my opponent cannot possibly Red Elemental Blast it, which I believe is better than just slamming the Painter into play. This also would make a Meltdown less good. Wow. That is not what I am looking for. I'm going to immediately take a redraw here. Oof. Okay. Okay. Thought Monitor is the sort of card that I'm very much looking for here. Oh, hell yeah. No Wasteland. I know. Another Dragon Rage Channeler. They have some blast or something. So I might want to avoid playing Thought Monitor in my next turn cycle. Because, like, if a Delver player chooses not to Wasteland you, there's a damn good reason why. Let's play Lotus Petal to turn on Mox Opal. Let's cast Painter's Servant. Everything's red. This is a good enough time for a new Mox Opal. Let's cast a Grindstone. It's in play. I'm gonna pass the turn. My opponent fetches at end step. I will go for it. Otherwise, I wait a turn. I think. Because I think my opponent has red Elemental Blast. So this is not really the protection that I want it to be. Wasteland's fine. Oh, maybe it's a mistake giving them the turn. So, my hand is forced. I will go ahead and activate. My opponent's going to fetch in response and bolt Painter's Servant. Oh. I'm going to be honest with you, that's not how I saw that going. I was not successful in starting this round before MTGO downtime, unfortunately. So it's now a few hours later. Oh, jeez. Downtime made my hands all bad. I mean, on 5, yeah. Second Opal goes back. Probably Thought Monitor goes back as well. I'm at a pretty big deficit here. Swamp? Yeah. I lose Forging the Anchor here, and I am just fully reliant on top decks go anywhere. Oh, interesting. I lost the Bauble instead. Sure. I'll cast some stuff. That just might mean that my opponent is going for some major combo or haymaker play on turn 2. And they just don't want to give me a redraw. Alright, my opponent tanked for a while and cast a Dark Ritual. What? Okay. I'm surprised. Yep. I'll play Painter's Servant. Everything's blue. You have a removal spell and the mana to cast it, because if not, you're dead. Alright, good game. I don't think I articulated this well. The reason that I'm so surprised by this opposition agent play is that any sort of 8 cast or blue painter deck list is basically not ever going to search their library. So expending a Dark Ritual on an opposition agent at sorcery speed is kind of wild. And doing so before a grief that could look at my hand and help you evaluate is even wilder. Yeah. Okay. So could play Surgical to help with Troll Reanimate nonsense. I don't know that I'm excited about that. Could play Pithing Needle for Helm or potentially opposing Urza's Saga. I don't know that I'm excited about that either. I would be excited about removal spells, which I don't really have. Yeah, no sideboard. A turn 1 discard spell is pretty good against my hand. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 1 off of Mox Opal. I think this is unexciting but fine. Not sure which of these Force of Will would pitch. I let that happen. I don't let that happen. Okay, so I will have 1, 2, 3 artifacts in play. Forging the Anchor is probably more reasonable to cast than Thought Monitor accordingly. Force of Will, pitch Thought Monitor. And that's their turn. All right. So, Metal, Bauble, Opal, 1 mana Emry, Haywire Might, Soulguide Lantern, couple Baubles. I have both Orcish Bowmasters to think about and Metalcraft and discard. I am comfortable doing one of these immediately. It has Reanimate coming. And hit my Haywire Might, but that's not really exciting. Land drop's okay. So there could be another Dark Ritual, in which case my opponent could do some pinging nonsense that would be a little bit bad for me. But I'm reading this as a bad keep from my opponent. All right, Sholdred coming in the not too distant future. So let's land drop. Tap. Just do Bauble. You may absolutely surgically extract my Bauble. Like, I still have another thing that draws me a card in there. This is like my opponent using a... This is like a very awkward 1-for-1 that doesn't truly 1-for-1 me. I'm a little surprised Surgical Extraction is boarded in. We'll go ahead and play a Grindstone. Pass the turn. There's a second land from my opponent, another Null Rod. Sure. That's very good. Let's do this. Do this. I'll double the amount of power that I have in play. Pass the turn. We just need to find an Urza Saga, and I'm okay. Doughty Voidwalker's fine. That does not tap for mana currently. Going to go ahead and cast this card rather than attack for 1. I think growing the size of Urza Saga constructs matters more than this 1 point of damage. Also, Kappa Cannoneer also very quickly wins me this game as well. Sure, that's fine. Yep. Note I don't get the dies trigger here. I'll take some damage. This will be worth the life most of the time. Let's see what we got. Kappa. Good stuff. Do I hold this back? I probably hold it back in case my opponent has an edict. I think my opponent is playing like a full goddamn set of no rods. Noted. Alright, I'm at 11. So I always do this. This changes my clock. As long as I hit reasonable artifacts, this is fine. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that's another Kappa Cannoneer. Triggering both of them. Mishra's Bauble. Yeah, there's 8 unblockable and deterministic unblockable the following turn. Off Grindstones. I imagine that just does it. Wasteland's fine, that doesn't do anything. And we end up with a positive finish here at a 4-1. So how do we feel about Connor's idea come the end of this league? I think I give a thumbs up to Forging the Anchor. As we saw in that last game there, the ability to dig for specific cards that you need is kind of nice. But again, this does not help you hit land drops, so this is never going to find you in Urza Saga in the same way that a Thoughtcast might. But guess what? There was definitely an Orcish Bowmasters on board, and hedging against that sort of stuff is pretty good. One thing that I'll say is that I did not sideboard a lot in this league. And I'm not going to claim that I know how to sideboard with a deck that, you know, I'm picking up and playing for the first time. So I'm unsure if me sideboarding, like not sideboarding means like the matchups that I was facing were just like fine and reasonable, and therefore I didn't really need to sideboard. Or if the sideboard can be changed to be better against more common matchups. Like, generally speaking, this sideboard is very, very, very heavily geared against combo decks. And that might be fine. That might need to be where this deck is, since game one, your plan against combo is fully just race them. But then a bunch of these cards are kind of narrow in their utility. So this deck just doesn't, for example, just have generic things like Dismember that can just get some creature out of the way. And that's something that I missed a little bit. Like, there's some Ottawaras, but that's about it. This is like normally a spot where I'd say, oh, Brazen Borrower is just what this deck is looking for. But again, like X1 bad against Bowmasters, metagame has changed. So yeah, I give this list my my tentative approval, and Connor, maybe give the sideboard some thought. You probably have more reps in with it than I do. And folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you end up wanting to pick up any of these cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!